Hi there. In today's video I'm going to be painting an abstract and it's a copy of a sketch that I did a couple of years ago, and I really like it, but it's only 12 inches by 12 inches, which is around 30 by 30 centimetres, and I think it would look really good painted larger. So I'm going to give it a go. I'm not actually very good at copying stuff, so it's going to look different, but it's the idea that I really like, and I love the colours. And spring has sprung, and I just feel these colours are probably a bit more summery than spring-like, but still very vibrant and full on. So this is the original, quite a loose abstract. There wasn't any particular thought process in my mind. I was just playing with paint and with marks and layering up paint. So I've put together my palette here. I'm just going to put this by the side of me so I can refer to it. And my palette has got a very unusual set of colours for me. I've got, if you can see them, let's see, I've got black, cobalt blue, which is just about to drip off the sheet. This is an orange. It's a cadmium-free orange, I think. This is fluoride pink. Fluoride pink? Fluorescent pink. Lemon yellow, the yellow that I can never pronounce, and I'll put it in the notes. It's not cadmium, I've got to get some cadmium, and this is titanium white. And I think this is pretty much the colours that I used in the original smaller painting. So I'm just going to get started because I don't really know, I don't remember at all how I painted it before, so I'm just going to get started. Of course, it's all a lot bigger, and that's what you've got to bear in mind when you're painting like this. This crazy Barbie pink, when you mix it with the orange, you get a really even crazier orange, which I think I'm going to knock back a bit with white because it does look a bit bad. So that's a bit too peachy looking. Oh well, let's go for it anyway. So I think I'm just going to start off by putting some marks, very rough marks. The idea when you paint big, of course, is that you have to use bigger brushes really, otherwise it will take you forever and you'll get too fiddly, and I don't want to get fiddly with this, you know. I just want to make some marks and keep going, and I may have to stop and let it dry, but that's fine. The thing about painting abstracts is that when you do them in the first instance, you're not really thinking too much. I was probably just thinking about the shapes, and now what I'm thinking about is how I make it look like the picture. So I may deviate from this quite a lot. I want more of a peppermint green. How do I get that? Peppermint green. How do I get peppermint green? I think that needs to be more yellow. Oh, I haven't mixed that in very well at all, have I? And the other thing is that when you have your first coat, the paint doesn't go on as well. It always goes on better in your subsequent coats. I can't get that paint to... So I'm not going to worry too much at the moment at this stage, to be honest. I just want to get some nice colours in, and then we'll work on nice spring colours, I think. This already, I can tell, is a million miles different from the original. I'm okay with that. Let's get that in here. So it's quite I like this green, which doesn't really change colour. Oh, I like that lime green. Is that going to work? And again, so already I have completely deviated from that original painting, but I love that, and I think I'm going to like it next to that. So I'm just going to keep going with that. And already some of the marks that I've made, let's move that into there, are showing through from underneath. Right, so I'm putting in, oh, it's really goopy, this paint. I'm putting more into this, more colour. This keeps on twisting around, which is annoying. I'm going to make that I really like this lime green I've got going on here. Not that I can remember how I made it. It's a slightly different colour, but never mind. So I'll just get rid of the whole of the white. I'm going to get this yellowy lime green now over here, and then here. Right, those lines have just come in because I got a bit of black on my brush. I'm not worried about that. It's the mistakes that make the paintings interesting. Not sure about this bit going on here, but that's okay. I like this. I've got that drip coming down. I don't know whether I'll like that or not. Quite like the way the yellow's coming, dripping through that blue. Let's just get rid of some of that. When you put something over partly dried paint, you can get some really interesting marks. That's quite dry. That's probably quite dry. No, it isn't. That's quite interesting. And then also, if you have, I have got one somewhere, a roller, this is a Bradle, you can really start to get some interesting marks. So that's just a tissue, nothing very exciting, and that's not even flat. So already we're getting some great marks, aren't they? Brilliant. Okay, this is when it gets exciting. So then you can go over to a bit of paint that you have already, so it's very flat there, and all of a sudden you've got something interesting going on. And again, you can do it up here. You can use the edge, and you can get some lines going through. We can do that again. Let's do that again here. That's interesting. And this is a bit dull here, so let's do something with that. And go further down. Okay, so that's starting to get a little bit more interesting. So the little dots that you can see there is where I've sprayed the paint on, and I've then taken it off, and you get some fantastic really exciting looking things going on there. I think that really works with the blue. Now so far I'm just going to say it's nothing like the original, but I'm quite liking what's going on here, I have to say. Put that to one side. Get some, I've got a great big splodge of white in here, so let's just make some more white. What I try and do is to keep the colours moving around so that the viewer's eye keeps looking at moving around as I'm not even speaking properly, moves around as well. So I love what's going on here. Not sure about all of those marks there. They look a bit too kind of regimented. Let's see if we can. No, I don't think that works. Oh, no, that might be okay. And I'm going to again. I think no, I'm not going to do that. It will ruin it. I'm going to do something with that because I'm not. Just to get rid of some of these funny little blobs that you get at the bottom. It's quite good fun doing this because you just don't know how it's going to end up, and it's often very interesting what happens to the paint and the way it moves through the painting. So I love what's going on here. I love these marks. I like that very transparent bit of paint going on there. I'm going to take this and just see what happens if I do that. And again we've got that, I know what it is. This has got lots of little marks on it so that it's coming through in the painting, which is quite good fun actually. Oops, I need another thing going in there. And there we go. Yeah, so look, that's didn't realise that was going to happen. Love it. So we've got these funny little marks. It looks a bit like a, what does it look like? I don't know. Let's do that one, that's quite fun. So the paper towel has got, it hasn't really worked, that's dried off too much. I love that, it's very beautiful just the way it is. So when I do things like this, I constantly look at what's coming through and how it's working. And I'm quite liking it so far, I must admit, it's quite good fun. You can draw in. Use crayon, a coloured crayon. I've got a blue one here, which I could draw something in. I think that looks, I'm not sure about that. This hasn't worked very well, so let's get rid of that. It's that easy. But you can still see it a little underneath, and I think it works better like that. Let's get some of that crazy pink in now. Not much, and I think I might get a much thinner brush and just put a little bit of that pink in. It's a crazy, crazy colour. Let's Let's do that with it. It's very squeaky, this, because it's covered in paint and it doesn't work very well. Trusty paint scraper. Take some of that off. We can put it elsewhere in the painting. It's gone on there. I don't know why there's yellow on it, but there is. Put some down there. I love what's going on here. Let's just sort this out down here because it's looking a bit weird. I think probably what I'm going to do is, I like those, I like that. I haven't really finished this colouring in up there, so that's what my daughter always used to say to me when she was a bit younger. She always says, "You haven't coloured in all the bits, Mum. You haven't coloured it all in, so let's colour it in." That's sort of a grey colour. Just pop that in, and I'll put it here. Again, I'm going to roller that, do a bit of rollering on there. And the thing with this is you've just got to be brave, and you know, it's an experiment. It's just an experiment all the time. I mean, if we could stick some of that on, it might look quite interesting, but I don't know how well that would work. I do like this pink. It's actually very transparent, this pink, so if you wanted it to be more obvious, you'd have to put a bit more on. How are we doing? How are we doing? How are we doing? I'm not terribly sure about this thing up here, to be honest. So I've got some quite wet blue tissue paper. Not tissue paper, it's kitchen paper. So I'm just going to do something with that to get rid of that obvious mark. There's some yellow on there, and that's gone on, which I quite like. And I might just do that and see what happens. So yeah, now I think I want to reintroduce a darker colour in part of this. So I'm going to go like that. So I'm losing some of the funny marks I had. Do I like that? I don't know. Let's go back in. So you can see how layering up paint gives you some really interesting effects. Allowing the paint to dribble, damping it off with kitchen towel. We can go back in and do more lines if we wanted to. Those have become slightly more transparent. Those have become slightly more transparent. And I don't want to turn it around because I don't want those to run back the other way. I love what's going on here. Yeah, I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I want to do anything else. I love this little bit up here. I think the thing I like about doing this is all the marks become very unexpected. So you start off and you think, oh, what's going on? What am I doing? But I think if you just get shapes all over your board, and you have a limited palette, even though this palette is quite crazy, it is pretty limited. And you just can get some really exciting marks from it, I think. I don't know if I want to do any more. Tonally it's working because we've got these dark values and then mid-tones, we've got light tones, so we've got these things working off each other. We've got some really interesting marks going on. I mean, you've got all sorts going on, not necessarily made by my hand either, which makes it kind of fun. And yeah, I think, you know, I guess the only thing I'm slightly bothered about is that. Yeah, I'm not sure 100%, but I like that. So let's take that up and see what happens if I do that. And then we could drag the painter's edge along, see what happens. Not sure about that either. Let's wipe that off. Let's get some water on that and see if that's gone straight down where that drip was. And I don't know if I wanted to get that far. Oh look, it's moving out along there. I've got a tea towel here, which is completely different. It's got a big hole in it. Completely different to what I was using before. So let's see what happens when I do that, because that's going to absorb some of the paint. That's more interesting, I think. So we've got a little bit more layering going on there. Isn't that such an obvious circle? I think I'm looking at it in the camera. I'm seeing it in a completely different way. I might want just three little marks. That kind of draws your eye over there a little bit more. And I think maybe something is that too similar. Let's just. Is that right to do that? I'm not sure. And that back as well. I don't know if I do like it. Let's try and take that off a bit. Maybe not the best thing to do. Might just let that dry a bit. I mean, it's not the end of the world, is it? Let's get this. There you go. Just get your. You can always, when it's still wet, you can always wash it off. You can even put it under the tap. Okay, I've gone back to where it was, sort of. It's a bit of a fiddle over there, but I think it looks okay. Stop fiddling then. Right, I think, again, I'm going to look, I still think that this needs something over here. I do think it needs something over there. Let's try this. So I've got the writing, so I can just do some more writing. Okay. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it because I'm pretty satisfied with it. The one thing I will do, though, is take that blue mark out there, because it was a bit distracting, and I'm just going to put some dots in there. And there is a reason for that, because this original painting was to do with water, and it was called Catching Raindrops, and it's to do with conservation of water. So I'm going to put those little dots in, because this can be Catching Raindrops too. That's an original title. Okay, so I'm going to stop now. You can really get out of your head doing this and just relax. And it's great to experiment with different colours and mix different colours together. Just try and keep it simple so that you don't end up with mushy colours, because, you know, browny, uninteresting colours. And if you need to let it dry, but do experiment with lifting paint off when it's becoming dry, because that's when you get some really fantastic marks that, you know, you aren't going to be able to make. And as I said, I used a Bradle, which is a printer's roller. Mine is covered in paint, so it's got its own texture to it. And what else did I use? I used kitchen towel that had an interesting design on it, as you can see there, which normally I would drive me up the wall, but it's been great here. And anything like that, really, anything like that, you know, experiment with it. I used my spray to create some lovely runs, and these runs here are particularly beautiful, I think. The colours that you've got here. So yeah, I shouldn't have clapped, it's probably very loud. So if you like this video, please give me a like, it really helps the channel. And if you haven't subscribed, please do, because you'll never miss a video if you do, and you hit that little thing that says notify me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.